Karen demanded I hand over all my ranches, then tried to destroy me for saying no. Can you imagine pouring your life's work into establishing a thriving ranch, only for a power-hungry HOA president to declare it community property and launch a full-scale attack when you refuse? How far would you go to protect your legacy? The sun-drenched expanse of the Lone Star Sanctuary was more than just my home. It was a sprawling network of conservation ranches, each dedicated to protecting endangered species and pioneering sustainable ranching practices. For years, Javier Javi Ramirez, a third-generation rancher and self-taught environmentalist, had poured every ounce of my passion and every hard-earned dollar into building this legacy. Our property lines, meticulously surveyed and clearly marked with robust fencing, stretched for thousands of acres across the Texas landscape. Then came Karen, not with a friendly hello, but with an armored SUV and an air of chilling entitlement. I was overseeing the release of a rehabilitated peregrine falcon back into the wild when a procession of black SUVs, emblazoned with Legacy Estates Consortium logos, roared onto my main access road, kicking up a storm of dust. Out stepped a woman in a perfectly tailored, ridiculously expensive safari suit, her face a mask of ruthless determination. This was Brenda Albright, the notoriously aggressive CEO of the Legacy Estates Consortium, a mega-development firm known for its cutthroat tactics and insatiable appetite for prime land. "Mr. Ramirez," Brenda announced, her voice amplified by a portable speaker echoing across the tranquil plains. "I'm Brenda Albright, CEO of Legacy Estates. I'm here to inform you that, effective immediately, all of your ranches, the Lone Star Sanctuary, the Wildflower Preserve, and the Whispering Pines are being acquired as essential open space for the Legacy Estates megadevelopment. Your conservation efforts are economically inefficient and stand in the way of progress. This acquisition is a critical component of our visionary master plan to create the largest luxury community in the Southwest, ensuring exclusive access to natural beauty for our elite clientele. Your fences, your animals, your operations all are to be dismantled within 72 hours, or face immediate forceful acquisition and legal action. We will make your existence utterly miserable until you comply." She then unfurled a massive, glossy blueprint, pointing to my properties, now labeled Legacy Green Space. The main conflict, audacious and utterly infuriating, was laid bare. Brenda, a predatory corporate titan, was attempting to unilaterally seize all of my legally owned, environmentally vital ranches, claiming them as essential open space for her luxury development, armed with baseless, fabricated authority. Her demands were not only illegal but rooted in a profound sense of entitlement, a pathological disregard for established property rights, environmental conservation, and the livelihoods of my dedicated team. Her attitude was one of blatant contempt, believing her immense wealth and corporate power granted her the right to dictate land ownership and impose her will on sovereign land, completely ignoring my established legal rights and the ecological significance of my work. My blood ran cold, but I forced myself to remain calm. "Ms. Albright," I said, my voice low and steady, carrying clearly across the vast space. "This land is not for sale. These ranches are private property, legally owned, meticulously managed, and dedicated to conservation. Your consortium has no legal authority, nor any jurisdiction whatsoever, over my land. Your master plan is a fantasy built on a legal seizure, and any attempt to trespass or interfere with my operations will be met with the full force of the law. I suggest you turn around, take your visionary plan, and leave my property immediately before I involve every federal and state agency that protects endangered species and private land rights." I even held up my original land deeds, painstakingly acquired over generations, and my federal wildlife permits. Brenda, however, merely scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "Naive, Mr. Ramirez. Your old papers and permits mean nothing compared to our newly secured Special Economic Zone designations and our army of lawyers. We have political connections at the highest levels. Consider this your only warning. When our demolition crews arrive tomorrow, if your wildlife is still on our designated common land, they will be relocated to the nearest animal control facility. And trust me, you won't like the fees. As for your operations, they will cease." Her tone was chillingly arrogant, her eyes holding a glint of perverse pleasure, as if she reveled in the thought of crushing my life's work. I spent that night going through every deed, every conservation easement, every obscure land use law, and making frantic calls to my network of environmental lawyers and wildlife experts. The next morning, as threatened, Brenda returned. This time, she wasn't alone. She had a full construction crew with heavy earth-moving equipment, a contingent of heavily armed private security guards, and 2 massive lowboy trailers, ready to haul away any obstructions. Then, Brenda's audacity escalated into a direct, shocking act of ecological devastation and animal endangerment. While her security guards formed a menacing line, Brenda pointed to a centuries-old, protected giant sequoia grove, a vital habitat for several endangered bird species, situated squarely within the section of land she was trying to seize. "Clear those ancient trees," she shrieked. "They block our scenic vistas." A bulldozer operator, clearly uncomfortable but following orders, hesitantly approached the majestic trees. With a sickening groan, he slammed the bulldozer blade into the base of one of the ancient sequoias, tearing off massive chunks of bark and causing the giant tree to splinter and crack ominously. Then, as I watched in horror, Brenda directed her crew to break down a section of my perimeter fence, and with a sneer, she personally began to release a swarm of aggressive, non-native wild boars from a specially equipped trailer directly into the enclosure of my critically endangered black-footed ferret breeding program. It was a calculated, malicious act designed to destroy irreplaceable natural heritage, endanger critically imperiled species, and cripple my conservation efforts beyond recovery, demonstrating her willingness to cause widespread and irreversible environmental damage for her selfish agenda. Right after Brenda's act of destruction and brazen ecological sabotage, a crucial twist unfolded from an unexpected source. As the wild boars charged towards the ferret enclosure, my award-winning conservation drone, Guardian, equipped with advanced thermal imaging and biometric sensors, was on a routine patrol. It immediately detected the unauthorized entry and the aggressive boars. Guardian, designed to protect wildlife, automatically initiated a threat assessment protocol. It captured Brenda's entire destructive spree in chilling detail. Her explicit commands to fell the sequoia, the tree's agonizing splintering, and her personally releasing the boars into the ferret enclosure. Crucially, Guardian's hypersensitive audio array also picked up a phone conversation from a few days prior, where Brenda was heard speaking with a federal land management official, explicitly stating her intention to bribe him to falsify environmental impact reports for the entire region, downplaying the ecological significance of my ranches to facilitate the Legacy Estate's Special Economic Zone designation and circumvent federal protections. This was an accidental, but terrifyingly real, twist. The larger consequence of Brenda's actions became terrifyingly clear. The giant sequoias weren't just old trees. They were a nationally recognized natural landmark, part of a federal old-growth forest preservation initiative and crucial to regional biodiversity. My black-footed ferret breeding program wasn't just a passion. It was a critical component of a global effort to reintroduce the species, a partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, directly funded by a massive federal grant. Her deliberate destruction of these protected natural resources, combined with the endangerment of a critically endangered species and the attempted fraudulent land seizure, wasn't just a petty act of malice. It directly jeopardized national environmental heritage, undermined vital federal conservation efforts, and threatened the very foundation of scientific reintroduction programs. Her petty vendetta had escalated into a direct assault on national environmental security and global biodiversity, elevating her personal malice to a matter of profound national and international significance. Armed with Guardian's irrefutable thermal footage, video evidence of the bribery, and the furious regional director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, I was done being subtle. As the county sheriff's deputies, along with state game wardens and a representative from the National Park Service, finally arrived to deal with the chaos, Brenda was in full performance mode, loudly complaining about my stubbornness and primitive operations. "Officers, he's resisting. His land is holding back progress. Actually, Ms. Albright, I retorted, my voice cutting through her bluster, amplified by the news cameras that had just pulled up, having been tipped off by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Your progress is about to become an arrest for felony vandalism of a national landmark, felony animal cruelty, illegal introduction of invasive species, reckless endangerment of critically endangered species, and criminal conspiracy to commit federal land fraud and bribery. I then projected Guardian's real-time thermal footage and the video of Brenda bribing the federal official onto a large, portable screen for the officers, wardens, and the news crew. The footage clearly depicted Brenda's malicious actions, the tree destruction, the boar release, and the damning audio of her explicitly stating her plan for bribery and fraudulent reports. The officers looked aghast, and the assembled news crew gasped. Brenda's face went from smug confidence to utter, absolute terror, her jaw hanging slack as the gravity of the situation and the unexpected legal twist dawned on her. No, that's manipulated. That drone is illegal. This is a malicious attack on my character and the consortium's integrity, she shrieked, desperately trying to manipulate the situation, her voice shrill and breaking. She started pointing fingers, trying to blame Guardian, me, anyone but herself, her eyes wide with unadulterated fear. Just as her pathetic denials reached their peak, the silence was shattered by the distinct wail of additional sirens. More federal vehicles, including sleek black SUVs marked EPA, Criminal Investigation Division, and Department of Justice, Environmental Crime Section, pulled up. Out of the lead vehicle stepped a grim-faced federal prosecutor, followed by the lead counsel for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the furious director of the National Park Service. The EPA representative spoke first, his voice cold and cutting. Ms. Albright, your actions have directly impacted nationally protected natural resources, endangered species, and a vital ecosystem. This is a severe federal offense, carrying significant prison time and potentially billions in fines. The Department of Justice prosecutor stepped forward. And Ms. Albright, we've also been investigating reports of widespread fraudulent land acquisition schemes and public corruption within the Legacy Estates Consortium, specifically regarding the illegal acquisition of environmentally sensitive lands and the diversion of corporate funds to shell corporations ostensibly for development projects that never materialized. Your documented acts of felony vandalism, animal cruelty, reckless endangerment of endangered species, illegal introduction of invasive species, and conspiracy to commit federal land fraud and bribery align perfectly with these ongoing investigations. Furthermore, we have evidence of significant sums of corporate funds being diverted to offshore accounts linked to your shell corporations, ostensibly for development projects that never materialized, and a history of utilizing aggressive tactics to drive down property values for illicit acquisition. A nervous murmur rippled through the gathered Legacy Estates employees and contractors who had followed the commotion, as one stammered to the FBI agent. She told us the conservation fees were for our new private nature trails. We had no idea the money was going to her husband's holding company in Switzerland. It was a chilling revelation. Brenda wasn't just a ruthless businesswoman. She was a criminal mastermind, systematically defrauding her own investors, attempting to seize invaluable environmental land, and committing serious federal crimes against natural heritage for massive personal profit, with the community development claims merely a cover for her grand scheme. A past incident, whispered among her former colleagues, revealed that Brenda had been previously ousted from a major land trust for systematic abuse of conservation easements for personal financial gain. The consequences for Brenda Albright were immediate and utterly devastating. She was arrested by federal authorities on multiple charges, including federal offenses for bribery of a public official, environmental crimes, conspiracy to commit fraud, felony vandalism of a national landmark, felony animal cruelty, reckless endangerment of endangered species, and later, as the full extent of the fraud was uncovered, for massive embezzlement, wire fraud, and racketeering. The Legacy Estates Consortium was placed under immediate federal investigation, its assets frozen, and a full forensic audit exposed hundreds of millions in stolen funds, a systematic scheme orchestrated by Brenda and her network. Her carefully cultivated image as the benevolent corporate visionary shattered into irreparable pieces. The employees and investors she had once intimidated and defrauded now turned on her, furious at being manipulated and exploited, their investments stolen, and their projects facing legal and environmental liabilities due to her criminal actions. Her social circles, built on an illusion of wealth and influence, abandoned her completely, unwilling to be associated with such public disgrace. Her vast corporate holdings, her fortune, her status, her perceived power all confiscated as part of the ongoing investigation and subsequent lawsuits. She lost everything: her freedom, her fortune, and her reputation. The ultimate irony was that her audacious attempt to seize my ranches and destroy my life's work led to the complete unraveling of her vast, illegal enterprise, culminating in a lengthy federal prison sentence. As for the Lone Star Sanctuary, it flourished beyond imagination. The sequoia was carefully healed by expert arborists, the ferret program expanded with new federal grants, and my ranches, now famous for their role in exposing a major criminal operation and protecting vital ecosystems, became a beacon of sustainable conservation. The satisfaction was immense, watching her literal and figurative empire crumble before her eyes, a quiet triumph of justice and steadfast dedication over arrogant greed and rampant criminality, narrowly averting a true ecological disaster. What's your take on this? When someone so brazenly abuses corporate power, commits felony vandalism against national landmarks, endangers critically imperiled species, attempts bribery to seize vast tracts of land, and defrauds countless investors, does their complete and utter downfall, even to federal prison, truly serve justice? Or is there a point where the consequences become too extreme?